It doesn't matter.
Sounds good.
Go ahead.
Okay. As I understand it, when the petition was passed, you would see the signature page, and on the signature page there would be a referendum, and the referendum says essentially the proposition 1 is that we should limit or reduce city council membership from 9 to 7.
All right.
Is that correct?
Totally incorrect.
It's not. Okay, explain it to me.
The petition language was on the back of the petition, as is the case with most petitions which have lengthy ballot language, as ours did, because it was a charter amendment. On the front page, you had the signature information saying that, the people who sign this, basically say that we agree to the ballot language on the back of this form.
That's what it says when they sign. Actually, the signature says, I endorse both, and they both have to be together. One cannot be separate from the other. It says it right in the back.
They were tied together in that it wouldn't make sense to go to 5 districts if you still had 9 members at large.
Why?
Excuse me, if you had 7 members at large.
Why?
Because the goal of the entire petition was to increase representation among people.
The South?
No, it was basically people citywide felt this way. If you take a look at how the election came down on election night, it passed more widely in the north end of Warren than it did in the south.
Right.
The only place at which we lost was at Owen Jack's area, that south end precinct, which is represented by Jim McDaniel and those people. If you also look, most of the usual people who go to city,
Livonia, man.
right? The people who go to the city council meetings and have many of them whom are in here, and are usually there all hours of the night, waiting to talk and complain about whatever. I thought
you can't even, when you go to a council meeting, you can't really participate.
What's that?
You can't. When you go to a council meeting, last time I was there, you could only talk. They couldn't interact. They wouldn't talk back.
No, they're not allowed to speak back.
That's ridiculous.
No.
You don't think that's ridiculous?
No.
No.
It is. I find it ridiculous.
Right,
I think they should be able to speak back or address the issue, because especially on behalf of the on behalf of the person who's wanting an answer. Please answer me.
Thank you.
Yeah, no,
that's frustrating.
just sit there,
isn't it?
But back to my earlier point, our entire petition. I'm sorry. The majority of our petitioners and I myself am from the north. We went knocking on doors where we lived.
Right.
We didn't,
What's this north-south dichotomy about? Explain that to me. Because as I understand it, and I'm from Livonia, I'm not from here, there is a concern amongst north voters that somehow the south voters are underrepresented, which is rare. It seems very nice. It seems novel to me that they would be concerned about the south. But is that true? Explain it to me.
That the North would be concerned about the South?
No, that somehow the South is disproportionately not represented?
Well, if you take a look at where all current councilmen live, it's certainly not below the 696 marker, which divides not only our city geographically, but also demographically, and also by class.
So why is it? You think because they're more efficacious, they have more money in the North?
Well, certainly,
more prone or more likely to participate.
Well, I think that's self-evident. I think you also have.
I don't know. I'm asking you. Is that your opinion?
I don't think it's my opinion. I think it's a matter of fact. But for that very reason, they should have people in their neighborhoods down there who do sit at that council level and say, "No, I'm from this area. Right. I want potholes fixed. I want street lights left on.
Right.
I want there to be accountability and representation."
I agree with that.
Yeah. And that's what the crux of the whole matter was about. It was never a north-south versus south issue.
By the way, that's how it was presented to me, just so you know.
Right. Well, because because the incumbents, which were very much against this from the outset, I announced it. I think it was here a year ago.
Why were they against it?
Well, because a number of them. Well, it was my understanding that a few councilmen wanted to create a slate and run a few of their neighbors. Back in, I don't know when this plan was hatched, probably around maybe...
They wanted to run their neighbors?
Yes.
Is it north-south still, or just...
Just people in the north. A couple of councilmen wanted their friends on the council to get things what they wanted done. And it was my understanding that a lot of people were very concerned about that, very upset about that.
To have neighbors nepotism or something?
Absolutely.
Nepotism? Okay.
Right, absolutely.
Okay. Which is not really nepotism, but we understand.
Well, I mean, it's certainly helping out your friends.
Right.
It might not be family, but I mean...
Kind of a Bush versus Bush.
It's people close to you.
Bush again.
Sure, yeah.
Right. Okay. But that was a concern. So you, in addressing that concern?
I didn't find out about that until after we started. We just wanted fairness and representation throughout the city.
Well, that makes sense, because as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, there is typically about 25 to 30 people that apply or want to run. And from there,
last time was about 40.
Okay,
yeah.
Assume there are 40. But there's no prohibition from registering from the south or from the north, right?
Correct.
Okay, so anyone can do it. As long as you're eligible, a tax-paying voter in the.
Anyone could do it. Right. However, if you are coming from an area which, let's say, one of these community activists, I don't know who they're connected to, if any. They're certainly concerned about their area, so they say. They have, at the same time, limited means to run a credible campaign. All kinds of people would like to
Talk
be...
Talk about that. What do you mean credible campaign?
Credible campaign, meaning buying, advertisement...
is that done, really for city council?
Absolutely.
Really?
Signs are everywhere, every election season.
Is there a capital investiture that is required to have a minimum chance to break through, in your mind? Out-of-pocket expenditures?
I would say typically... a lot of council people usually spend about 25 to 50 grand on council.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not.
For 1 year? Or to be elected in 1 year?
To be elected every... What do you mean in 1 year?
Every year, that money's put out for whoever's coming up.
No, it's their term limit, or their term of office.
It's staggered. Isn't it staggered? Or are they all at the same time?
They are all elected at once, yeah.
Oh, they are?
As one body, yeah.
What do they run, 6? 6-year term? Well, it's all
4, yeah.
4-year term. So everyone runs every year, every 4 years?
Well, they're term limited at 3, and it used to be 9. We whittled it down to 7.
But doesn't the term limit in and of itself guarantee you have fresh blood there?
Not if it's 12 years.
Why? Explain it to me.
Because if there's a specific councilman that is in place, and depending on who you talk to, that could be any few of them. If they were, let's say, in the previous race, they were, let's say, in the top 8 or 9. Right. Well, let's say you work hard against them that next election that they're running, trying to remain as the incumbent in the office.
Right.
And let's say you whittle their support down, but you only whittle it down maybe 15 to 20%. So maybe they're at number 5 or number 6 now instead of 8 or 9. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like you have to work that much extra to get a candidate out of office that you don't like, because anyone can get in with just 7 to 10%.
Is that what it is, 7 to 10%?
Basically, after the primary, yeah.
Okay, and let me ask you this. Of the 40 people that ran, what percentage do you think came from the South?
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to look at the...
is it half?
I couldn't say.
Well, isn't that the key question, though? Mm-hmm. If there's half, assume there's half, that would be a fair estimate?
I think we're focusing too much on the South and we're missing the bigger issue, which is neighborhood representation no matter where you live in the city, whether it's 14 in Shaner or, 8 Mile and Hoover.
Okay, but whenever I look at the map, I realize I'm from Livonia, I'm an outsider, but when I look at this planned redistricting map, and then I say, why is this being done instead of, since Warren's been open for business, if you will, it's always been a one-ward town with the top vote gettings, and that's pretty much the way it's been in 80% of the districts throughout Michigan. Mm-hmm. Why you would change it, and then instead of having uniform diagram, uniform plat structure, like they do in certain gerrymandering districts in New York, why you have something that reflects, quite honestly, a concern of people that are efficacious, that come to the meetings, that know, and that have them be then concerned that all of a sudden the mayor's trying to entrench his own people. Why? And from being a foreigner, and I'm not from here. Tell me, explain that to me. How is that not a viable concern?
I would say it's a viable concern.
That's why I'm
here. If there were other viable concerns coming from this particular crowd.
That's the only concern that was addressed to me, and that's why I'm here.
Right, and in my thinking and in my experience and paying attention to these people, a lot of them seem to be against everything, no matter what it is. Against everything.
I agree. There's always change. Yeah. Change always.
Yeah, exactly. So
ruffles feathers, especially
and when I use the term usual suspects, those are the people who are leading this effort today to try to circumvent what democracy accomplished. This was the first successful voter initiative in the city in the city's history. The first successful voter initiative ever to be made past the petition stage to the ballot, voted 2-1 by the people. Right. That should stand, and that's all I have to say, really.
Well, I understand your position. I mean, I gather, and I'm quite honest, because you're vested, you have a vested interest in, because you developed it, that you would be concerned about undermining the credibility of it. And trust me, I see where you're at.
Yep.
As a detached observer, someone that comes from never being in Warren ever, not really, quite honestly, caring about Warren ever, I see a proposal that on its face, and I'm not political at all, raises my hair on the back of my neck. That's when I feel, hey, I got to go the next step. So then I do. And then I see concerned citizens enough by number to come and sign an affidavit saying not only did they sign the petition originally, but then try to take it back when they realized what they were really signing. That, in my mind, says, we have please, I let you talk. We have a systemic problem. We have a procedural concern that needs to be addressed. Because the concern is this: were these people actually hoodwinked in being told, hey, on one hand, there is this Proposition 1, which I can buy into. Let's take it from 9 to 7. Let's save some money. It's a little top heavy. And I'll sign. I'll put my name on it, which they did, which this man right here did. This man right here did that. And then realize, hey, it goes beyond just that. There's not just Proposition 1, but there's Proposition 2, which I was never told when I put my name on the ballot. Never told, never saw, and was never notified that on top of Proposition 1, guess what? We want, for the first time in Warren history, first time ever, we want to redistrict and set up an electorate that, instead of a one-ward system that we've always had, always enjoyed, always benefited us, where the top vote getters get in. No, we want to throw that out and replace it with some 5 districts that, if you look at the map, are not straight.
Well,
I'm a foreigner.
Yeah,
I'm looking at it. It's not straight. Why isn't it straight? Why isn't it straight?
I'm going to start the meeting now, okay?
I'm just trying to understand. I'm just trying to understand his position.
Just to reply and answer your question, I would say that I would suspect that any number of petition, maybe every single petition that anyone does, has a few people after, maybe 50 people, depending on the size of the project, would maybe take their position back later and say, you know what, maybe I shouldn't have signed it. But well, hold on a second.
I agree.
Maybe I shouldn't have signed it. I should have looked at that a little bit more.
Do this in front of everybody.
Hey, this guy's immaterial. We're going to get.
No, he's very material.
I know, but
he's the reason I'm here.
Okay, I'm going to start the meeting.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm just trying to better understand his position, and he's entitled to it. My concern,
but I do think also, and by the way, this isn't the first time in our city's history that this has been attempted. There have been other efforts, but it's the first time it's been successful. I would say that.
First time, what are you talking about?
Scott's
redistrict or
right?
reduce?
Yeah, Scott Stevens, who is a
reduce or redistrict.
Redistrict.
I've never seen anything.
How did the vote go?
Well, it didn't get to that point because they couldn't collect enough signatures.
Well, that's my point. And if you look at history like that, and I appreciate that, had it passed at one point, there would have been an interest in it. There was an interest in limiting and reducing the amount from 9 to 7. That's clear. No one here even objects to that. Everyone here, though, says Proposition 2, where did that come from? That's the concern I have philosophically, fairness-wise, is I have a problem with that. And I don't know you. I don't really know them. But looking at it as a foreigner, as from Livonia, I don't know anything about Warren, and I see it, it makes the back of my hair stand up on end. And that's the concern I have, fundamental fairness.
Well, I would say for the majority of the people who signed it, who did not change their mind, and for the majority of the people who...
How do you know that?
Who voted for it and could read it
in plain English.
How do you know that's
English
true?
on the
Were you there?
2 to 1 percentage in favor.
That's not a lot.
Okay.
That's 66%.
So, okay.
Stop.
So the vote,
all you gotta do,
the vote, the vote against is a lot.
If you take 14%,
the vote
take
is
14% and take that away and go to the other side, you're done. So 14% of people, 10% that were hoodwinked, 10% go the other way. It's defeated. 10% of those people, I've got 4 right there that signed and said, no, I didn't mean to sign it. I don't know. It doesn't ring right to me. I'm not against you. I don't know who you are. You could be a great guy.
I think it might.
Philosophically,
it comes down with responsibility to fully understand something before you sign it.
But if your people go out there and say, "Here, sign a petition,"
no.
limits it.
Well, that's where you're wrong. That's where you're wrong because it was never misrepresented. It was never misrepresented. Every petition that I watched someone sign.
So you're saying that war veterans lying? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying.
Are you saying that war veterans lying?
I'm saying he may.
Are you saying that war veterans lying?
I'm saying he may remember it differently than I do.
You think you're wrong about that. He's a war veteran. I don't think he's lying.
Okay. Well, if that's your standard by truth, I don't know.
Okay. You think he's lying? Are you going to call him a liar? Are you going to call him a liar?
That's all I'm going to say for now. Mr. Berry will have a few words to say to you.